Dear Mr. Cannon and Mr. Whaling, following a review of your recent interactions with us, we believe that you have both clearly demonstrated we cannot offer the holiday that you are looking for. It is thus no longer appropriate for you to travel with us on any of the Carnival group brands. This includes Cunard, P&O Cruises and Princess Cruises. I'm so sorry I have to convey this decision to you. Please note that this letter represents our final decision on the matter, and you'll therefore not be permitted to travel with us for a period of 5 years, after which we may review. Please note that no further correspondence on this matter will be entered into.
What's in that letter isn't what they wanted to put in that letter.
Of course it isn't.
We'll analyse the reason in a minute, but if there was grounds for defamation, inaccurate reporting, or some sort of prejudice towards Carnival brands, it would most certainly be in that letter. Instead, what they've done is they've gone for vague and unconfrontational, but there's not really any substance or sense to the letter. I think it raises more questions than answers them.
We cannot offer the holiday that you're looking for. What does that actually mean? Let's unpack this for a moment.
They're not stating their legal position.
But let's just be clear for a second before we carry on with this then. Like, this letter is clearly banning me and you as paying passengers. This isn't banning Sail Away magazine. This isn't banning us as the editors. This is banning us as paying customers and us for them not being able to guarantee us the holiday that we're looking for. That's what this is here as paying guests.
Yeah, and I believe that it's a euphemism for you're not welcome.
That's what it feels like. It feels personal.
They've given their reason on the letter as to why we are now banned for 5 years, at least 5 years. But in this podcast, we're going to look at it more deeply and actually show that it has nothing to do with them not being able to provide us with a holiday we're looking for. I mean, that's just utter rubbish. Yeah. In our opinion, this is all about criticism avoidance. Don't see us as content creators. See us as paying guests.
All of the cruises, or not all of them, but a good majority of them are paid for by our own pocket. Yeah. Yes, again, we've got the magazine and we've got the podcast and everything else, but the majority of them are out of our own pocket. We've saved them up from ourselves and we've gone as paying guests for us to review and, you know, highlight the critiques, the good things, the bad things, the ugly and everything in the middle. So, all right, let's unpack this from the beginning a little bit. So I think the timing of it is an interesting thing to look at when we received this letter. So as our viewers and listeners will know, we did a podcast with Simon Calder where we discussed the cancellation of cruises with P&O, and we touched on Maleth, didn't we, in that podcast. We highlighted in recent online blog that we did about recent cutbacks that Cunard had made, and other cutbacks that had been made, you know, under that umbrella of Carnival Corp UK.
Based on the hundreds of emails that we have received, the hundreds of comments on our YouTube videos, and the countless people that come up to us in person that share their own experiences that they've had with the likes of P&O, and they say they completely agree with what we're calling out. If it was perfect, as they make out, then we wouldn't have received all these emails and we wouldn't feel the need to respond in the way that we do.
But the thing is, nothing is perfect. No holiday or vacation is perfect. This, you know, whether you go on a land holiday or you go on a cruise, there could always be something that goes wrong. So saying to us, we clearly demonstrated that we cannot offer you a holiday that you're looking for, then who can guarantee me that I'm going to have the perfect holiday then? Because it makes no sense. That makes no sense.
Yeah, but this letter makes no sense for all sorts of reasons. Something that we noticed is that it's signed from someone in guest relations.
Yeah.
Well, firstly, we haven't sailed with P&O Cruises since November 2023.
Mm-hmm.
The last Cunard cruise that we did was in November of last year. I never called or contacted guest relations. We've never had any dealings with guest relations. We've never called up their customer care number.
But that's what I mean. So therefore, the only interactions we've ever had with these brands is through their PR and marketing departments of the various brands. So how is it leapfrogged from that to it being a personal, we can't guarantee you a good holiday?
What cruise line are they saying that we can't have a good time on? Are they referring to Holland America, where they invited us on and paid for our wedding last year? I very much doubt it. I think we've demonstrated through all of our content in print and online that we're very big fans of Holland America.
But the other one is, we haven't been on a Princess cruise coming up for 2 years now. So how can they determine that I wouldn't have a good time on there now? We've never set foot on a Costa cruise. We've never set foot on an AIDA cruise. How is that fair to do a blanket ban across the whole thing?
Yeah, and I would argue, despite the way this person said it on the phone call about us being critical about Cunard, I feel that largely we've always been quite complimentary of Cunard. We've always believed that things should be better and there's areas that could be improved. But find me a ship that you and I have been on where we have claimed that everything is perfect and there's not a single thing that could be improved. It's rubbish. Like, I do see online that people think that we have it in for P&O. That's certainly what we've heard or has been implied to us by Carnival UK on quite a few occasions. I'm sorry, they're just not listening.
Yeah.
They're not doing enough research. If they went and actually looked at our content on Fred Olsen, if they looked at our content on Ambassador, Morella, whoever we go with, I feel that we have the same balance with whoever.
We always balance. We'll always say the good, the bad, and the stuff that's in the middle. I mean, I just have to highlight as well for myself that when we got this letter, I went and did my research online and looked at other creators' videos and content that people put out there. So just for example, as I mentioned a moment ago, when we highlighted that Cunard had got rid of its inclusive room service, or they tweaked it to make that have a la carte options, we were not the only ones that reported on that. Cruise Mummy reported on that.
Yeah, Cruise Mummy, who has, 1 million visitors to her site every month. No, another big website, the Cruise Blog, they published it.
Yeah.
Sorry, did they get a phone call?
And then the other thing I went and looked at as well was that, so other people's videos, there are content creators out there, Ben and David, for example, I found that they did a Costa cruise where they were very critical towards their experience on there, and fair play to them. They're allowed to be critical because they're paying guests and they're allowed to review something. Yeah. And that video at the end was critical. They basically said that they don't recommend it. It's not for them. I watched other videos where people had done Queen Mary 2 cabin reviews where they said that it was dirty and it wasn't for them and that they wouldn't recommend it. Tom and Dom did a cabin review on Aurora, recommended that no one stays in that type of cabin, and they had such a miserable time on there. There's so much content out there that made me think, well, hold on a second. If they can do it, if they can put their opinion out there and they're not clearly having a good time, well, how is it fair that we have been put in this situation? The point I'm trying to make is I think it's incredibly worrying right now for any paying customer that goes on any of these cruises that wants to either complain directly to the cruise line or go online to an online forum like Cruise Critic or Facebook, or even if they want to put it on YouTube themselves, what's now being stopped from them being banned for giving their opinion?
Well, there's no difference. Like, if we can get banned based on, as what they say, recent interactions with us, I can only interpret that as interactions you and I have had with PR and marketing at P&O, because we have not contacted guest relations to complain about anything, and we haven't sailed with P&O since 2023. I believe this does ask the question, if you go on to Cruise Critic and you leave a damning review, if you go and post your experience within a Facebook group where you haven't had a very good experience, even if you fill out their feedback form at the end of the cruise and you say that you've had a really, really bad time, are you going to get a letter that says, I'm sorry, but we are not able to provide you with the holiday that you are looking for?
Who knows now? They can do it to us. They can literally do it to anybody now that doesn't have somewhat of a good time. I think it's really, really worrying. I think what I need to get across as well to people that are going to watch this video and listen to it is that, look, if you have never agreed with our opinions in the past, that's fine. You know, we can go on a cruise and say that it was good or bad in that moment, and someone else might have had a great time on board. I'm so glad that person had a great time. We're just reviewing it for what it is. At this point, that's not what this is about, whether you like what we've said in the past or not. This isn't whether you like our magazine or not. We've not been banned as a magazine. We have been banned as paying customers that wanted to voice an opinion. What is stopping anyone else now being put in this same situation that wants to voice their opinion?
And I totally agree. It's really not about us and what we do. Yes, we put videos on YouTube. Yes, we're the two people behind a cruise magazine. But at the end of the day, the way they've written this letter is it's about us as customers.
But as I said, do you not think the timing is really funny how this letter has come about? Why didn't they ban us back when we put out our brutally honest P&O RV review? Why didn't they ban us when we put out that Carnival video with the wig by the bed? Why didn't they ban us after the podcast we did with Simon Calder? Why now? Why have they waited all this time to now ban us?
I can only assume that it's down to editorial content that we've put out in recent months and our stance with regards to standing up for those that have been affected by the Maleth Aero scandal, and those that were affected recently when P&O Aurora's post-refit cruise was cancelled. We were booked on that.
We were booked on it. Who was meant to go on it?
I'm sorry, Simon Calder, who I would argue is Britain's most knowledgeable travel expert, agreed with us that P&O Cruises, in that moment, and with the Maleth Aero situation, they demonstrated corporate arrogance.
Look, we can't prove that it's because of our editorial stance, but I just think the timing is very, very strange that they waited on it and to do it after we posted about the cutbacks and then about that call we had with said PR person, and now we've got a ban. I think the timing is very suspicious, but even if it isn't based on that, banning us as paying customers that are trying to get our opinion across, I personally think is absolutely disgusting, and everyone should be worried for saying their opinion now.
It is disgusting, and it just makes absolutely no sense. I mean, you could try and sum up the situation in all sorts of ways. I mean, it's as ludicrous as the idea of a customer going to Pizza Hut, then writing a review on TripAdvisor afterwards saying, didn't really like the pizza here, I think Domino's is way better, and that customer receiving a letter in the post saying you're banned from dining at Pizza Hut for the next 5 years because we can't provide the pizza that you're looking for.
It's like,
it is that mad.
It's crazy. It's like us getting a bad review from someone saying, actually, I don't like Sail Away magazine, I think your font's too small, or I don't like the photos you put in it, and us then turning and going, you're banned then, you can't have a magazine from us anymore. It's absolutely ridiculous.
You just said that was feedback we had.
We did get that feedback from,
and I'm a great believer in feedback. It doesn't matter where it comes from. In the early days of printing the magazine, we noticed a bit of a trend. There was a lot of readers, particularly older readers, that were reaching out to us saying, I'm really struggling with your font size. We took that on board and we increased the font size, and we've never had a complaint regarding that since.
But it's all feedback makes you improve. Feedback is so crucial to any business.
You learn from feedback, and I'm sorry, based on personal interactions that we have had with P&O, particularly their PR and marketing department, they are deaf to any criticism. They won't have it.
No,
they will not hear a bad word said, and I'm sorry, until the day comes where you're getting only 5-star reviews on Cruise Critic, and every person that does a YouTube video about an experience on your ships is 100% perfect, then you need to take on feedback, good and bad.
You do need to take it on.
If you don't, how are you ever going to improve?
But we've been on other cruise lines, though, haven't we? That's the point, where we've had a niggle or a complaint, but they've handled it appropriately, haven't they?
Yeah, so to give you an example, we were invited on Fred Olsen's Balmoral at the end of last year, and we did a review about our experience on that. I don't think anyone would watch that review and say it was a perfect experience. That was a press trip, by the way.
That was a press trip.
But Fred Olsen have enough confidence in their own brand that they're quite willing to have creators such as us on their ships, because they know that we're going to do a balanced review and people are going to take it seriously.
Yeah.
We're not going to go on there and just spout a load of positive stuff because it was given to us.
Ambassador is the other example. We was Ambassador. We're very keen of Ambassador. We're doing a hosted cruise of the CEO cruise later in the year. But when we did that review, we was honest. We said that we didn't like the carpets in the cabins, and we critiqued where it needed to be, but we absolutely highlighted where it needed to be as well.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to suddenly get banned by Ambassador by saying that the carpet resembled 50 Shades of Turd.
No, or the other coronavirus carpet. That's just an opinion we gave.
It's an opinion, and as long as your review is objective and you're raising the good and the bad, which we always do.
But that's the point. I just need to touch on that as well for a second. We do raise good and bad, and people will hopefully know when they watch our podcasts and anything else that we do. When we have mentioned P&O, we have said they're not like they used to be. They have made cutbacks and they've gone in a different direction, and fine. But on the other side of that coin, we have praised P&O and said that they are fantastic value for money. If you're going to do a cruise out of Southampton, or you want to do a Caribbean cruise, they're going to be the best prices for you.
And I would say we have never said in any of our videos or any of our editorials, don't book with P&O.
Nope.
Even with how they've handled situations, and in our opinion, very, very badly, we have not said don't go and book your cruise with P&O. With regards to our editorials, okay, yes, this is personal, but we are speculating here because this letter makes no sense. I had to go through and have a look at all of our magazines that we've ever printed.
I know you did.
We've had emails in the past from P&O Cruises marketing department, PR and marketing department, saying that they believe the content that we put out is negatively slanted. I'm telling you, that is utter rubbish. I know that our YouTube content is no harsher than any other creator out there. I haven't heard of anyone else getting a ban. And with regards to our editorials, I did it in pages. So I worked out there had been, since we launched in 2023, there has been 18 negatively slanted pages of coverage.
Okay, but what was the positive though?
108.
Well, there you go. How is that unfair then?
It just...
And we've put 2 ships of theirs on the front cover.
Yeah,
we put Queen Mary 2 on the cover.
Queen Mary 2 and New Amsterdam. So how have we been in any way unfair to Carnival UK? We've debated the last few days as to whether our experience on Carnival Miracle had anything to do with this. I don't know. But if it did, again, if they're calling us out and trying to censor us, and they want to censor everyone else from sharing their poor experience online, that is deeply worrying, because that is without doubt the worst cabin we've ever had. I don't think it was fit for an animal to walk around in there, let alone a paying guest.
I wouldn't let a sailor walk around in it.
But I like to think that review was more than fair. It's not like we said everything was awful. We praised the food largely, and it was much better than what we were expecting. It does not matter what cruise line we sail with. If we'd have arrived at our cabin and we'd have witnessed that level of filth and dirt, we would have called it out. This is not personal.
Yes, we highlighted the dirty cabin in it, but on the other side of that coin, we praised very highly how they fixed that situation with Duncan. When he fixed that situation, he fixed it, and we said he was an absolute credit and asset to Carnival Cruise Lines for how he fixed that situation. He even said to us, "You'll probably never cruise with us again, but I'm fixing this because I truly want to fix it for you." If he didn't believe that was an issue, he wouldn't have fixed it for us. And we praised it though, and we praised the food on there, of the vegetarian options. We praised it where we needed to.
And at the end of that video, our end summary was, it's not for us.
For us, and that's fair.
Not whole Carnival Corporation. No. Carnival Cruise Line itself was not for us. How is that any different from when Emma Cruises goes on Queen Mary 2 and at the end of her video she says Cunard isn't really for me? How is it any different to Ben and David going on Costa and saying, I can't wait to get off, I'll never come back? And it's no different from when Simon Calder came on the podcast and said that P&O had demonstrated corporate arrogance. To use P&O Cruises term, these are negatively slanted statements.
Can they not guarantee them a good time? Why is it any different? This is where I'm struggling with it, and I'm really confused. And I hope that people watch this and read the story after and see that it's not, again, like I keep saying, it's not that they've banned the magazine or us because they don't like our opinions. It's like we just wanted to give our opinion, and therefore we're tarnished with the brush. But this is the other thing as well. We're tarnished with the brush of anyone else that would typically get banned. So there was a recent news story, wasn't there, where I can't remember how many people got banned from Carnival Cruise Line.
24.
24 people got banned from Carnival Cruise Line.
For getting into a mass brawl and fighting. And their punishment, a ban from Carnival Cruise Line. Not all Carnival brands.
Nope.
Just the one cruise line. Are they trying to say that us being honest and sharing our experience online and in print is somehow more serious than getting into fights and breaking the rules on board? Because if they are saying that, then I think that's really alarming.
It's really upsetting and disappointing that I feel like I've been tarnished with the same brush of those type of people that would go on a cruise and get banned for taking drugs on board or taking alcohol on board or get into fights. Or when Ben and David did a video and said
they said there was an orgy in the hot tub.
In the hot tub on a P&O cruise, like, what's the? I don't understand the difference.
That's one of the things that I really hate about this situation is they've kind of bundled us with all the yobs.
Yeah.
All those that go on a cruise and they can't adhere to the rules, we've basically been put in the same group. Well, arguably, we're actually worse because they've actually taken the action and banned us against all Carnival brands. But if the articles that we've seen from the likes of The Independent or anything to go by, you know, for people that were involved in those fights on a Carnival ship, it looks like they've only been banned from Carnival Cruise Line.
Get 50% off your first order when you subscribe to Sail Away magazine. Get the digital version for £3.95 and the printed edition for £6.95 every 2 months. Subscribe today at sailawaymagazine.com.
So we ran a poll on our YouTube channel and on our Facebook group. And I think around 400 people voted in it. And the question was, under Paul Ludlow's leadership, do you think that cruising has improved, got worse, stayed the same, or not sure? And the results were really quite definitive. 72% of people said that cruising had got worse. 6% said that it improved. Are P&O and Carnival UK annoyed at us for asking the question, or are they a bit embarrassed at the results?
We can't prove what they're annoyed at, but I speculate that it's both, that we asked the question and they don't like the results. I mean, but we're allowed to, as a publication, to ask that question.
The first option was improved.
Yeah.
Like, it was more than fair to ask the question, and I dare say at some point we will ask a very similar question about Ambassador's CEO. Like, what do you think of him? They seem to have, again, an insecurity about saying anything against the CEO. I'm sorry, that is where the buck stops.
Yeah.
You don't go after anyone else. Like, this is not intended to be personal. If Paul Ludlow is the CEO, while these sort of things are going on, like cruise cancellations, like Maleth Aero, like when so many people were taking to Cruise Critic and Facebook groups and YouTube to say that the cruising experience at P&O is not what it was and it's gone downhill, who else are we going to blame?
But it's like us as, you know, owners of Sail Away magazine. If we started cutting back the quality of the paper in the magazine, let's say, and people didn't like it and started calling us out for it,
people would have every right to blame us.
It's us. We're at the top. Of course, it's our decision.
It's our decisions. I don't understand their stance at all, and I would love to get to the bottom of how they reached this decision, but I would really rather them focus on the passengers that are coming to them with complaints and feedback saying, look, I don't think things are as good as they used to be, and I don't think I've been treated particularly fairly. And they have a duty to listen.
They do have a duty.
Any company. This is not just cruise lines, and it is not just P&O. It is not just Carnival UK. I would expect this from any cruise line. Like P&O, for example, they are fairly cheap. I mean, something we've praised with P&O is they have made cruising accessible to people that once upon a time would not have been able to consider going on a cruise. You can argue whether that's good or bad, by the way, but I think it's actually a good thing.
Yeah. Look, we love the cruise industry. Look at what we do. Look at what we've built. But just because you love something doesn't mean you can't be honest about it and give critiques about it. I love my mum, but if she asked me what I would think of a dress that she's wearing and I didn't think I particularly thought she looked great in it, I'd tell her.
Yeah.
And if she didn't ask me, I'd go, oh, hold on a minute, Mum. Maybe you might want to change that because I love it and I want it to be great. And that's the thing about cruising. I want it to be bloody great cruising. And when we go away, sometimes we just look at things and go, that could be improved, or that could be tweaked, or that could be so much better. And there's nothing wrong as paying guests of giving that feedback in any forum, what that looks like.
What is wrong with listening to someone else's view? Right. I mean, we see it all the time. Like, we'll get comments on our videos. We see how nasty people can be on Facebook. I am not saying that everything we print or anything we put on YouTube means that we're right and you're wrong.
No.
We're giving our point of view and giving you our observations. You can make your own mind up. And for the record, when I see that someone has been on P&O Avia, let's say, and they say, oh, well, I was on it 2 weeks ago and I had a fantastic time. As long as they're not coming at us with hate, then I'm happy for them.
Yeah, great.
Like,
I'm so glad
I'm glad that you have had a better experience than we did.
You paid. You deserve to have a good holiday. I'm so pleased for you. But we didn't, or we're just saying this could be better.
We spoke to quite a few people this week. We spoke to Gary Benbridge. We spoke to Simon Calder. We spoke to Travel Blog Jamie. We spoke to a solicitor. This is a very, very unusual situation.
It's strange.
It's
so strange.
Strange. It doesn't make sense. And I think that everyone we have spoken to can actually see it for what it is. Yeah. It has nothing to do with the fact that they can't provide us the holiday we're looking for. They can't stop us from reporting. We have free press in this country. It's not North Korea.
Well, not just free press, but we've also got they're allowed to voice their own opinion.
Of course you are. And I said,
freedom of speech
I actually said this on the phone to this person from PR marketing. It is not illegal to have an opinion. And if your opinion is based on the facts and on evidence, you are more than entitled to give an opinion. I don't really know what they think we are. We never launched this magazine to take on National Geographic.
No. They're just independent people that love cruising.
I wasn't thinking of making it onto Forbes' rich list next year.
No, of course not.
We wanted to just put something out there that was a little bit different, not back-to-back glossy adverts and PR campaigns disguised as an editorial. We wanted to put out something that was very, very different. The way we have ran our business is we managed to survive without having to rely on the big cruise corporations. And I would argue that is very different to a lot of the cruise magazines that are out there.
I suspect that strongly. But again, we wanted to give other people a chance to voice their opinions. The whole point of the magazine as well is that it's not just us writing in the magazine. You've got influencers, journalists, just a random person that's had a holiday that wants to share their story. We wanted to give another platform to people to be honest and not have to feel worried about giving that opinion. We wanted to make a difference by partnering with Orca. That was the whole point of this. It wasn't to become the biggest cruise publication in the world or to be the richest people in the world. We just love cruising and wanted to give back a little bit and have another platform for people to voice what they want, good or bad.
Yes, and show people that you can cruise differently. There's all types of cruising.
Yeah.
Like a cruise on P&O is going to be entirely different to a cruise with celebrity. A celebrity cruise is going to be entirely different to an expedition cruise with Hurtigruten. I mean, Christ, even look at what Jamie recently went on where he did a houseboat in India. There is all different types of experiences and we wanted to show people this. And the most important thing to us has always been trust.
Trust is massive.
I would not be able to live with myself if I recommended a cruise to someone knowing that actually it was a very, very poor offering, and then they wrote to us and said, oh, we booked this cruise because you said it was great when we knew it wasn't, and I've wasted my money.
The disappointing thing in this situation is that we've been banned, but we would still recommend P&O to people that didn't have a huge budget and wanted to do a cruise out of Southampton. It's so disappointing because we would still say, well, P&O is probably your best bet.
Okay, we can't go on their ships, but I'm not going to stop featuring articles about them in the magazine. There's another situation where a cruise has been cancelled within 22 hours of departure, and we're having customers reach out to us really upset. We're going to respond to it. Yeah. Nothing's going to change.
For our viewers and listeners, this will not stop us reporting on anything, and it will not stop us creating content on any of these brands still. We will still report on them. We will still send people on our behalf. You will still know what is going on in the cruise industry regarding these cruise brands, even though we are banned personally.
It is so important for people to share their experience. Like, don't see us as content creators. I mean, even before content creation, I've always done TripAdvisor reviews. I don't book a hotel or a restaurant, or I don't even get my van serviced somewhere where I haven't at least checked the reviews. Feedback is absolutely everything. I am hoping that through this situation, we can actually urge people to give their feedback a lot more. Not just for P&O, not just for Carnival brands, but for all cruise lines, because it is so important. If you don't give feedback and you don't pull cruise lines up on things when they've done something wrong, I can assure you the standards are going to get a lot worse. They're never going to get better.
Yeah. I just hope people watch this and don't feel fearful now to give a review, because again, this is the worrying situation. If you're going to give a review now, whether that be on Cruise Critic, a Facebook group, or YouTube, or a journalist writing their own report, everyone is kind of a little bit danger now.
And I would love to know how we are any different to the content creators that you said about earlier, like Ben and David saying about how bad their cruise was on Costa, and other creators that have had awful experiences when it comes to cleanliness and hygiene. Why us, not them? Because I don't think we've done anything different. And by the way, Ben and David, like when it comes to their honesty in their videos, like I'm not bringing them up because I'm throwing them under the bus. I actually think if their honest approach is the right one.
So what's going to happen for us next is that, look, we're not looking to get unbanned from Carnival UK. Yeah. As we've just said, nothing is going to change in terms of coverage. We will continue, and I suspect they'll continue with the ban with us. But I just want people to be aware that it is a serious matter, this situation, that unfortunately this might happen. This could happen to you now if you put out something negative.
If you put anything remotely negative online, you cannot be certain that you are not going to receive a letter like the one that we received. We've said that's the excuse they've used. I question it. But at the end of the day, we can only go by what they've written on paper. And I actually think that will actually cause alarm for many, because they'll think, oh, I've got to fill out my feedback form at the end of our cruise. Shall I be honest? Shall I say that I'm really disappointed? Shall I say that I'm thinking of cruising with someone else because I've had a disappointing experience? By this letter, that could easily happen.
Of course it could. That's what's worrying.
The Sail Away Uncensored Cruise Podcast.